Day 2 kicks off with another beautiful morning on the road. We leave the Dalles and head for the Rowena Overlook along the historic Columbia River Highway. It doesn't take long before the road gets twisty, climbing the cliffs toward the overlook, a perfect way to start another day of Miata adventure. We didn't linger long at the overlook, but there was plenty of time to take in the view and look back toward the Dalles and the winding road we just climbed. Across the river, the small town of Lyle sat on the Washington side, the same little town we passed through so many times yesterday. The plan for Sunday was simple: enjoy a few hours of backroad fun around the Dalles, then cross back into Washington for even more twisties before heading home. The sun was shining under a glorious blue sky, and best of all, the day's heat hadn't arrived yet. Perfect weather, an eager Miata, and miles of winding road, pretty hard to argue with that. Oh my God, this is why I love driving here. The roads are fantastic, the scenery is incredible, and this particular stretch has one of my favorite reveals. We run the route this direction just for the moment when you crest the ridge, slip through the saddle, and suddenly, there's the Dalles spread out below you. Just stunning. Before slipping out of town, diverted to a local road heading up into the hills that looked far too tempting to ignore. It turned out to be a fun little out and back, just a few minutes of winding road before turning around. A bit dusty, and judging by the cloud behind us, everyone else got to eat the dust, which sucks to be them, but hey, what can you do? Short, sweet, and definitely worth the detour. And the dust.
Alright, we're coming to the turnaround spot very soon. Here it is. Alright. And watch for the glass in the parking lot.
What's cool here is, blink and you'll miss it, but on this turn we sweep from a view of Mount Adams in Washington to Mount Hood in Oregon. Anyway, not far beyond the edge of town, the high desert country south of the Dalles unfolds into dry rolling hills blanketed with orchards across Oregon's Columbia Plateau. We found some wonderful little roads winding their way through it all, following the contours of the land and twisting over and around the hills. It made for some very fun driving. A little farther out, beyond the town transfer station, the orchards gradually give way to vast fields of wheat, lending an almost surreal quality to the rolling landscape of the hinterlands. For the next hour or so, we'd loop deeper into this country, following ribbons of pavement tucked away in the ravines and canyons that carve through the hills. It was the kind of landscape that made every turn feel like a discovery. As the route began its return to the Dalles, it plunged into a narrow ravine tucked between neighboring wheat fields. A modest creek trickled along the valley floor, crossed now and then by small bridges, providing just enough water to support a surprisingly lush canopy of trees. This was an especially adventurous stretch, with narrow lanes winding between close rock walls and dramatic outcroppings that gave the valley an intimate, almost secretive feel. Somewhere along the way, I must have hit a bump because the Pringles can got dislodged and transformed into a fully operational Pringles G-meter in the passenger footwell. From there, it became my most irritating driving companion, rolling, launching, and changing direction in perfect response to every acceleration, braking maneuver, and steering input of the Miata. It was basically providing a continuous, and completely unsolicited, telemetry report on my driving. Finally had to stop and end it. Begone cursed tin o' Pringles. Even way out here in the boonies, Mount Hood made an appearance behind us as we rolled across the landscape. The road wasn't particularly twisty through this stretch, but the picturesque farmland and wide open views made it a very enjoyable drive. By around noon, we'd completed the loop back into the Dalles. We didn't stop in town, though. It was time to point the Miatas toward home. After crossing the Columbia back into Washington, we made a quick pit stop at Doug's Beach State Park before continuing through Lisle and picking up Centerville Highway. It was a bit of a zigzag, but much more enjoyable than simply heading north on Highway 97. Oregon had given us a great morning of roads, scenery, and driving fun. Now it was time to reluctantly start making our way home. Oh dear. From Lisle, the Centerville Highway tucked in behind the Columbia Hills ridgeline, leaving the river behind as it climbed out of the canyon. Before long, the road transitioned into a series of rolling sweepers heading east toward Highway 97 in Goldendale. It was a short-ish route, but you could clearly see the landscape change from the forested canyon to open, grassy plains. Goldendale was our destination for lunch, after which the group began splitting off for home, wrapping up a full weekend of great roads, scenery, and Miata time. And yet, there were 3 intrepid Miata drivers who were ready to go explore the roads through the Goodnoe Hills region further east. It would be a 2-hour loop, but it looked interesting. Approaching the Goodnoe Hills was a little surreal. For what seemed like an uncomfortably long time, the road appeared to be pointing us directly at one of the giant wind turbines. We held our course, hoping this was all part of the plan. After passing through a field of giant wind turbines, their blades slowly sweeping overhead, the 3 of us began our descent through the Goodnoe Hills. The road dropped steadily, with expansive views south across the farm fields to the Columbia River and Oregon beyond. About halfway down, the road leveled onto a plateau before making a sharp left past the weathered remains of the Goodnoe homestead. A short distance down a nearby lane sits an equally decrepit old schoolhouse. A few families still work the land here, but it's clearly tough country. The old buildings stand as reminders of a time when this remote corner of the hills was considerably more prosperous. As we dropped down into Rock Creek Canyon, we encountered some sediment that had washed over the road from this past winter's storms. It wasn't too bad, at least not as the lead car, but Michael and Peter got the brunt of the dust kicked up from our passing. At the bottom of the canyon, we crossed Rock Creek and then cruised past the Rock Creek Longhouse, a ceremonial site for the Yakima Nation. We rejoined the Columbia at the mouth of Rock Creek, where the creek's brown waters met the deep blue of the main river, reflecting the sky above. From here, the road settled into a much more relaxed rhythm. After the twists, turns, and dust of the Goodnoe Hills, this stretch along the river felt almost like a cool-down lap as we cruised steadily upstream through the stark high desert landscape. A few miles upstream, we turned left onto Old Highway 8, this time onto a completely different section from the stretch we'd encountered west of Lisle the day before. The road passed a lonely ranch before winding through some low, rolling hills and eventually climbing through a cut onto another plateau. It wasn't exactly a road in a hurry, but it had enough bends and elevation changes to keep the Miatas interested. Dot Road carried us through another wind farm, this time with greener fields growing beneath the turbines. At the north end, it teed into the Bickleton Highway, where we turned west to complete the loop back toward Goldendale. But before we reached town, and Highway 97, we had one last canyon to work our way through. Bickleton Highway meandered down and out of the north end of Rock Creek Canyon, the same one we drove about 45 minutes earlier. And that brought us to the end of the Goodnoe Loop, a route I'd spotted on the map a few years ago but had never had the chance to explore. Many thanks to Michael and Peter for indulging the experiment and patiently following along for the adventure. For future travelers, I enjoyed it, and there were some genuinely fun twisty sections. But the ratio of straight, open road to those twisty bits wasn't quite where we'd want it for a Miata drive. Of the three of us, I was the only one who came away thinking, yeah, I'd do that again. The other two, having now experienced all those long straight stretches, may require a little more convincing. Rejoining Highway 97 North marked the official end of Galavanting along the gorgeous gorge. Over 2 days, we'd covered roughly 900 miles, following some truly memorable roads through spectacular scenery along the river. It had been one of those weekends that ends far too soon, leaving you wishing there were just a few more roads left to explore. A big thanks to everyone who came out, and to the Mount Hood Miata Club. It was great to cross paths with them again this year and share another weekend of driving. Now there was only the 200-mile trip home. But after a weekend like this, there was no way we were going to finish with a boring freeway slog. The three of us were headed the same way, so we made one last detour across the Cascades via Chinook Pass, with Mount Rainier keeping watch over the journey. And just like that, another great gorge weekend was in the books. Here's hoping we'll be back next year, with another 900 miles of roads waiting to be explored.